For years, Florida's real estate scene felt like it could do no wrong. From Miami's shimmering skyline to the rapidly growing neighborhoods around Tampa, sellers practically ran the show. Homes flew off the market the moment they appeared, investors scrambled for every inch of land, and developers could barely build fast enough to satisfy the frenzy. But now, as we step into 2025, the script has flipped. All across the Sunshine State, for sale signs are lingering, listings are piling up, price reductions are popping up everywhere, and homeowners who once seemed untouchable are suddenly looking uneasy. Supply has ballooned, buyers have pulled back, and the era of frantic bidding wars has come to a quiet halt. Today on Discover the Cities, we're breaking down the top 10 Florida cities where sellers are struggling to find buyers. These are the markets where properties sit on the market far longer than anyone expected. Price tags keep sliding downward, and the truth is finally catching up to the hype. Stick with us through the countdown, because what unfolding here could be an early snapshot of a much bigger shift coming to housing markets across America. Number 10. Orlando. Orlando once stood as the perfect symbol of Florida's unstoppable housing boom. Between 2020 and 2022, the city transformed into one of the nation's hottest real estate destinations. Families relocated in droves, builders rushed to pour foundations, and sellers believed they could name their price and still get multiple offers overnight. But as we step into 2025, the magic that fueled Orlando's rise has dimmed. Listings have ballooned, and properties that used to get snatched up within a weekend now sit untouched for months. Recent reports show the average home price in the Orlando area has dropped by roughly 4.5% compared to the year before, while the number of homes on the market has surged by nearly 35%. In many parts of the metro, available housing inventory is now the highest it's been since 2011. Even once coveted neighborhoods like Lake Nona and Baldwin Park, where homes used to sell before construction was finished, are seeing developers offer discounts, upgrades, and closing incentives just to attract attention. Orlando's economy is still healthy, population growth continues, and jobs are being added. Yet affordability has slipped out of reach for many. Rising interest rates, soaring insurance costs, and increasing property taxes have pushed buyers to the sidelines. Sellers who once expected lines at open houses are now waiting for showings that don't come. Builders have slowed new projects, recognizing that demand has thinned out dramatically. Orlando's housing market was once defined by rapid expansion and boundless optimism. Today, it has shifted into a period of caution, patience, and adjustment. The city that once embodied endless opportunity is learning that even a place known for magic can lose its momentum. Number 9. Cape Coral. Cape Coral was once the embodiment of Florida's sunny promise. Sparkling canals, attainable waterfront living, and the kind of explosive expansion that made it feel like the state's next great success story. But in 2025, that glow has faded, and the city is waking up to a much harsher reality. During the pandemic boom, this Gulf Coast market drew waves of out-of-state buyers and aggressive investors. Homes sold before concrete even touched the ground. Bidding wars weren't the exception, they were the expectation. Prices soared, fueled by confidence, speculation, and cheap borrowing. Then the momentum snapped. In the last year alone, Cape Coral's median home price has fallen by more than 10%. Inventory has swelled dramatically, turning once competitive neighborhoods into rows of for sale signs and still vacant listings. Builders who used to have waiting lists are now trying to entice buyers with incentives. Think upgraded appliances, interest rate buydowns, and even prepaid insurance, yet many properties continue to sit untouched. Insurance costs have become a breaking point. After Hurricane Ian, new flood risk maps redrew the region's future. Houses previously considered safe are suddenly facing mandatory flood insurance, with premiums that can exceed $10,000 a year. For some families, that cost alone has become unaffordable, pushing them to leave while they still can. Investors, once the engine of the boom, have largely stepped back. Short-term rentals are oversaturated, shrinking profits. Long-term owners, watching the shift unfold, are quietly listing their homes too, hoping to exit before conditions worsen. From the sky, Cape Coral still looks like paradise. Palm-fringed streets, sparkling waterways, and boats bobbing in the sunlight. But on the ground, the story is different. The real estate market is contracting, and what was once one of Florida's fastest-rising boomtowns is now being dragged backward by inflated valuations, rising costs, and unforgiving economic forces. The tide turned suddenly, and many residents never saw the reversal coming. Number 8. Naples. Naples has always been the crown jewel of Florida's coastline, a sanctuary of sun-washed luxury where powdered sugar beaches blend into grand estates and polished avenues shimmer with designer boutiques and fine dining. For decades, this enclave felt immune to economic shifts. Wealth poured in from major cities like New York and Chicago, as well as international buyers eager to claim a slice of paradise. Yet in 2025, even Naples is no longer invincible. Home values have slipped nearly 19% in just a year, and the upper tier of the market is falling even faster. Properties that once sparked bidding wars now sit quietly on the market, waiting sometimes for months for the right buyer. High-rise condos with sweeping Gulf views remain dark at night, and once coveted waterfront mansions are suddenly begging for attention. On the surface, Naples still dazzles, but behind the manicured hedges and gleaming storefronts, nerves are fraying. Insurance premiums have soared, property taxes continue to climb, and even financially comfortable residents are starting to do the math. Some retirees who once envisioned living out their golden years here are quietly planning their exit, hoping to sell before values slide further. At the same time, the buyer pool that powered Naples' rise has thinned. The remote work boom has cooled, and the desire to maintain sprawling seasonal homes isn't as strong as it once was. Hesitation has replaced urgency. In response, sellers are making concessions they once would have laughed at. All cash expectations have softened. Furniture packages are being offered. Insurance credits, closing incentives, waived contingencies, tools once unnecessary in this elite market are now common bargaining chips. Terms like price cut and discount echo through a community that formerly thrived on exclusivity and premium pricing. Naples still photographs like a dream. Pristine beaches, sun-drenched fairways, and sunsets painted in gold and coral. But beneath the postcard veneer, a recalibration is underway. The luxury housing market that once seemed untouchable is confronting a sobering truth. Even paradise must eventually reconcile with market realities. Number 7. Tampa. For years, Tampa stood as the shining example of Florida's real estate boom. From 2020 through 2023, the region transformed into a magnet for new residents, corporate expansions, and investor enthusiasm. Tower cranes dotted the downtown skyline, national companies announced relocations one after another, and buyers swarmed fast-growing suburbs like Wesley Chapel, Apollo Beach, and Brandon. Demand was so intense that homes vanished from the market in a matter of days, often before the paint had even dried. But by 2025, the frenzy has given way to a much different scene. The once blistering housing market has eased into a steady, uncomfortable correction. Properties that would have sparked bidding wars are now lingering for 2 months or more. Nearly a third of all active listings have been reduced in price, some slashed by $20,000 or beyond, as sellers compete for dwindling attention. Where open houses once overflowed with eager buyers, agents now watch the door, hoping anyone walks in. The shift has a clear cause. Tampa simply pushed too far, too fast. Builders raced to meet pandemic-era demand and low interest rates, flooding the region with townhomes, condos, and sprawling suburban developments. Construction stretched toward every horizon, built on the belief that demand would never falter. Then reality arrived. Rising mortgage rates froze would-be buyers. Insurance premiums and utility costs jumped. Tampa's reputation as an affordable coastal metro, a key part of its appeal, has faded. First-time buyers are squeezed out. Investors have paused, and homeowners who purchased near the peak are now watching their equity shrink. Downtown, shiny new condo towers stand partially filled. In the suburbs, builders have pivoted to survival mode, covering closing costs, offering buy-down incentives, throwing in backyard upgrades, anything to keep sales flowing. Tampa still looks radiant at dusk, with its gleaming skyline and shimmering waterfront. But beneath the postcard views, the pressure is rising. Inventory has ballooned. Buyer demand has cooled. The balance that once fueled Tampa's meteoric rise has tipped. In 2025, the narrative has shifted. The city that once embodied Florida's unstoppable momentum is facing a sobering reset. The boomtown glow hasn't fully faded, but the strain is unmistakable, a reminder that even the strongest markets can lose steam when growth outruns gravity. Number 6. Jacksonville. For a long time, Jacksonville felt like Florida's hidden gem, the big city that never needed to shout to prove its value. While Miami and Orlando captured headlines, Jacksonville quietly offered a rare combination of affordability, job growth, and coastal living. Miles of beaches, expanding suburbs, and steady infrastructure improvements made it a place where young families could still dream of a yard, where newcomers could buy instead of rent, and where investors saw long-term promise rather than hype. But the landscape in 2025 tells a different story. The once lean housing market has swollen. Listings have nearly doubled since 2022. In hotspot counties like Duval and St. John's, homes that used to spark competition and sell in a matter of days are now sitting untouched for weeks, even months. The typical listing window has nearly doubled, jumping from around 3 weeks on market to almost 2 months. Sellers who once felt confident now find themselves watching and waiting, hoping for a single showing. Price cuts are no longer strategic marketing tools. They've become survival tactics. Closing cost incentives, mortgage buy-downs, prepaid utilities, anything to sweeten the deal is appearing in listing descriptions that once bragged about multiple offers and won't last long. So what happened? Simply put, Jacksonville overbuilt on optimism. Developers raced to meet surging demand during the pandemic boom, carving out new neighborhoods at lightning speed. But rising mortgage rates have sidelined first-time buyers. Insurance costs have spiked, especially near the coast and along the St. Johns River, and property taxes have chipped away at affordability. The very advantage that set Jacksonville apart has eroded. Even the wave of remote workers that once drove demand has slowed. Hybrid work has replaced the fully remote lifestyle, and relocation pipelines that once brought steady inflow are drying up. Investors have turned cautious, and families who once saw Jacksonville as a bargain compared to Miami or Tampa are doing the math and thinking twice. Still, the city's natural charm hasn't disappeared. The beaches are wide and inviting. The river winds through downtown like a quiet ribbon of possibility, and Jacksonville remains a place with undeniable potential. But in this moment, the real estate market is stuck between chapters. Sellers holding on, buyers stepping back, and everyone waiting for clarity. Jacksonville didn't fall overnight, but in 2025, Florida's once safe bet is searching for its next story. Number 5, Sarasota. Sarasota used to feel like the perfect blend of refinement and relaxed coastal living. A polished paradise where art lovers, retirees, and beach seekers all found their ideal pace of life. With world-famous shorelines, a thriving cultural district, and carefully designed master-planned communities, it offered a lifestyle that seemed almost effortless. People pictured mornings on Siesta Key's powder-soft sand, evenings at the theater, and sunsets reflecting off sleek bayfront condos. Between 2019 and 2022, this dream fueled one of the hottest real estate booms in the nation. But in 2025, the cracks are visible beneath the postcard-perfect exterior. Listings have surged by nearly 40% in just 1 year, and price cuts that were once rare are now routine. Homes that sparked bidding frenzies not long ago are sitting for months, often only moving after 5 to 10% price drops. Even in high-end enclaves like Lakewood Ranch and Lido Key, sellers are discovering that beauty and prestige aren't enough in today's climate. The financial pressure is intense. Across the Gulf Coast, insurance premiums have doubled, while updated flood maps are forcing many waterfront homeowners into costly policies they never expected. Property taxes continue to rise, HOA dues keep climbing, and maintaining older homes near the salt air has become an expensive challenge. Longtime owners who once felt secure are suddenly tightening their budgets, and buyers, they're retreating. Investor activity has cooled dramatically. Some retirees are scaling down sooner than expected, or bypassing Sarasota altogether in favor of more affordable inland towns. Cash buyers, once the backbone of Sarasota's luxury market, are thinner on the ground, and even competitively priced listings face hesitation. The frenzy has faded, replaced by cautious calculation. Sarasota still dazzles on the surface, palm-lined boulevards, shimmering turquoise water, and sunsets worthy of a postcard. But beneath the beauty, the tone has shifted. Sellers are lowering expectations, adjusting prices, and preparing for slower sales cycles. In 2025, Sarasota remains gorgeous, but glamour alone isn't driving demand anymore. The market has turned, and the city is confronting a new reality. Even paradise can feel heavy when costs swell and buyer confidence slips. Number 4, Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale was once the definition of effortless coastal prestige, a city where sleek towers gleamed over winding teal canals, yachts rested at every slip like jewelry on display, and international wealth flowed in without hesitation. For a long stretch, the housing market here felt invincible. All cash offers ruled, developers stacked glass high into the sky, and confidence in endless expansion felt almost unquestionable. But in 2025, the shine has softened. The luxury scene that once moved at lightning speed now feels unusually still. High-rise condos that used to sell out long before construction wrapped are lingering with no takers. Waterfront units overlooking the intracoastal sit vacant, even after multiple price cuts and creative incentives. Sellers who once fielded bidding wars are now covering closing costs, tossing in designer furniture, and quietly negotiating in ways they never imagined. The stillness inside sales centers says more than any dataset ever could. The glamour hasn't disappeared, but the urgency has. A major shift came after the Surfside collapse, when Florida introduced strict inspection laws for older condo buildings. Towers built decades ago now face multi-million-dollar repair mandates, and special assessments have shocked owners. Condo fees have exploded, doubling or tripling in some cases, turning once manageable luxury living into a financial burden. Even wealthy buyers are stepping back, wary of unpredictable future costs and structural risks. Investors who once treated Fort Lauderdale as a guaranteed win are quietly pulling money out. Insurance premiums continue marching higher. Flood risk concerns grow louder each season, and the supply of luxury listings now far outpaces the pool of qualified, motivated buyers. Walk from Los Olas Boulevard up through Pompano Beach, and the subtle signs are everywhere. Staged units without visitors, open houses that used to buzz now echoing in silence, and price tags sliding in a way that would have seemed impossible not long ago. Fort Lauderdale still dazzles on camera. Golden light over the water, polished marinas, palm-lined boulevards swaying in the breeze, but the surface calm masks a shifting reality. The era of effortless luxury has hit resistance. Agents whisper the same truth in private circles. The deep-pocketed buyers are thinning out. The frenzy has evaporated, and even this crown jewel of South Florida is learning that no market can glow forever. Number 3. Miami. For years, Miami didn't just ride the housing boom, it defined it. From 2020 through the early 2020s, the city transformed into the pulse of global money and digital ambition. Shimmering skyscrapers shot up from Brickell to Edgewater. Crypto tycoons snapped up penthouses before blueprints dried. International buyers landed with wire transfers ready and wallets open. Developers poured concrete with unshakable confidence, convinced that demand in Miami simply couldn't cool. But 2025 has delivered a sobering shift. What once felt like unstoppable momentum now looks shaky. Inventory has exploded. Pre-construction launches that used to spark bidding frenzies are quietly begging for commitments. Condo towers, once waiting lists deep, now struggle to fill floors. Listings across downtown and the waterfront are being quietly repriced, not by a few thousand, but sometimes hundreds of thousands. Homes that once vanished in 48 hours now collect dust and carry costs for months. The real pressure point, costs that have spiraled out of control. Insurance premiums have doubled, in some cases tripled, leaving many owners paying $20,000 a year or more just to stay covered. Property taxes continue their relentless climb. New structural safety rules have led to jaw-dropping assessment bills. Some owners now owe more in repairs than they still owe on their mortgage. Even high-net-worth buyers are blinking, realizing that prestige doesn't buffer a monthly financial bleed. International capital, once Miami's lifeblood, has slowed dramatically. Buyers from Europe and Latin America, the crowd that fueled so many record-breaking years, are suddenly cautious, wary of unstable currencies and a global slowdown. Meanwhile, domestic investors have pulled back, discouraged by rising rates and relentless maintenance expenses. With demand fading and supply building, Miami is staring at something it hasn't seen in more than 10 years, a true buyer's market. And yet the city still dazzles. When the sun drops, Brickell's glass towers still glow electric blue and gold. South Beach still thrums with nightlife. The tropical glamour hasn't vanished, but the illusion of invincibility has. Behind the glimmer, sellers are waking up to a new reality. Miami's incredible rise was never immune to economic gravity. In 2025, the magic isn't gone. It's simply meeting math. And paradise, as Miami is learning, always comes with a price. Number 2. West Palm Beach. Once upon a time, West Palm Beach felt like the refined, understated sibling to Miami's flashy energy. A serene retreat where old money charm met coastal sophistication. Palm-framed boulevards, glittering condo towers overlooking the intracoastal, and historic waterfront estates gave this city an effortless elegance. For years, it was a haven for those who craved luxury without chaos, a place where wealth blended with calm and confidence in the market seemed unshakable. Fast forward to 2025, and that polished picture is beginning to crack. Across Palm Beach County, listings are stacking up at levels we haven't seen in more than 10 years. Houses that used to spark bidding wars and vanish within a weekend are now sitting sometimes for months. Price reductions have become a weekly routine instead of a rare surprise. Real estate agents who once hustled through back-to-back offers now refresh their phones, waiting for inquiries that never arrive. The culprit? Soaring costs and shrinking confidence. Insurance premiums have hit staggering highs, with many waterfront owners now facing $20,000 plus annual bills just to stay covered. Property taxes continue inching upward. Newly updated hurricane risk maps have added another layer of anxiety, and suddenly even the wealthy are pausing, asking themselves the question no one used to ask here. Is this lifestyle still worth the price? Walk through downtown West Palm and you'll spot the shift. Luxurious condo towers that sold out at Blueprint Stage just a few years ago now glow with empty units. Along iconic Flagler Drive, those postcard-perfect buildings, once symbols of prosperity, reveal a different story. Developers offering incentives, owners quietly slashing asking prices, and investors stepping back instead of piling in. Even in cherished neighborhoods like El Cid and Soso, areas known for manicured lawns and architectural charm, you'll find price tags drifting downward. Sellers who once refused to budge are now whispering to their agents, wondering if another cut might finally bring someone through the door. And yet, the city remains breathtaking. At dusk, the water still shimmers in that signature palette of gold and cobalt. The skyline still reflects elegance, but beneath the calm surface, the real estate market feels suspended, as if everyone is holding their breath, waiting to see whether demand will return or drift further out to sea. West Palm Beach still looks like luxury, but in 2025, it's clear that looks alone aren't selling homes anymore, and a city once defined by effortless wealth is learning what uncertainty really feels like. Number 1. St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg once stood as the crown jewel of Florida's urban renaissance. What used to be a slow-paced retirement enclave transformed seemingly overnight into a thriving, artistic, youthful city bursting with life. Rooftop bars lit the sky, startups filled renovated warehouses, and sleek condo towers rose along the bayfront, promising a lifestyle that blended coastal charm with metropolitan excitement. Everyone wanted in. Developers branded it the next major Gulf Coast success story, and for a while the hype was real. But by 2025, momentum has slowed, and the once red-hot housing scene is suddenly cooling off. Homes and condos that used to disappear within a weekend are now sitting on the market for months. Listings have jumped nearly 50% compared to last year, flooding the city with supply and putting downward pressure on prices. Behind the scenes, nerves are starting to show. Realtors quietly admit that showings have dried up. Builders who race to meet soaring demand are now staring at too many empty units, from waterfront towers near Treasure Island to sprawling suburban developments edging toward Pinellas Park. It wasn't demand that changed overnight, it was the math. Mortgage rates climbed sharply, insurance premiums surged, property taxes crept higher, and buyers who once dreamed of coastal living are now stepping back, calculating whether the cost is still worth it. In a market that once rewarded speed and confidence, sellers are now offering sweeteners to get buyers through the door. 1 year of HOA fees paid, interest rate buydowns, closing cost assistance, fully furnished units, just take them. Incentives that would have seemed absurd only a few years ago are suddenly everywhere. Weekend open houses, once buzzing with energy, now end with realtors packing up untouched brochures in quiet lobbies that tell the story without a single statistic, and yet the city remains breathtaking. The Gulf still spills sunsets in molten gold. Beach Drive cafes still hum with conversation. Colorful murals continue to wrap downtown in creative energy. St. Petersburg hasn't lost its charm, but the housing market has lost its swagger. What was once a frenzy has given way to fatigue. Sellers are chasing buyers now, not the other way around. Investors who used to boast about lightning-fast flips are bowing out, taking smaller wins or losses while they still can. Homeowners who thought they'd never sell are eyeing the exit before prices slide further. And developers who once spoke confidently about limitless demand are trimming projects and whispering caution instead of promise. St. Petersburg remains one of Florida's most magnetic places to call home. But today, it stands as a reminder that even the brightest boomtowns eventually meet gravity. No surge lasts forever, not even in paradise. Across Florida, the same quiet shift is underway. Markets from Miami to the Gulf Coast are seeing the balance of power flip. Homes sit longer, price cuts arrive sooner, incentives pile up. The state that once defined America's housing frenzy is now leading its correction. But this isn't collapse, it's recalibration, a reset after years of dizzying acceleration. For buyers, doors are opening again. For sellers, patience and price flexibility is becoming the new strategy. And for the rest of the country, Florida may be offering a preview of what's coming. This is Discover the Cities, bringing you the real stories behind America's biggest shifts. If today's breakdown gave you clarity, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay connected, because the trend unfolding in Florida could soon reach markets everywhere.